Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the next part of the Spartan Ultra training program where I've got one of those very special episodes I've been waiting to do for quite a while now. And I would stick with this because if you hang on till the end, I'm going to blow your mind by the time we get to the end. So today is going to be all about numbers. We're going to go over quantitatively how we're doing a lot of things we're doing, and again, why we're doing a lot of the stuff we are. Whereas if we've gone through and you've been kind of following along this path that I've been showing so far from video to video, notice a lot of them have kind of been basically focused on maybe little kind of microcosms of kind of little individual aspects of the training that we're doing. Maybe one episode is going to be dealing with the cold weather, one's going to be dealing more with kind of like our goal setting, one is going to be dealing with the zone 2 stuff. So you have kind of a lot of little zoomed in kind of, I don't know, I guess little videos that I've been doing. But this one we're going to zoom way the heck out, and we're going to give the big overall picture of what's going on with these races. So before going any further, there are two things I want to get accomplished by the end of this video. And the first, which I alluded to last time, is that Spartan Sprints and Supers are obstacle course races with trail running kind of thrown in on the side, whereas a Beast and an Ultra are trail runs with obstacles thrown in. Now, there is a difference between how we treat the two, and we're going to go over that. The other thing I want to convey by the time this session is said and done is that you can do this. Even if you've been following along the whole time, you can do this if you've never done Ultra before and you're just kind of starting to do your training right now. Yes, it's a little later to be doing that, but you can still do this. It's possible. We can get this done. It's going to be all good. But first, let's delve into that first part. What is the difference between our trail running versus obstacle course races? So if we're looking at a sprint is theoretically a 5K, which is 3.1 miles, has approximately 20 obstacles. So that's going to wind up being one obstacle for roughly every 275 yards on the course. Now, usually they give like about a mile's worth of time to kind of break your pack apart so you can go over, so it might get, on the aggregate, it's going to wind up being 275 yards throughout the entire course. Whereas if we look at an ultra course is going to be approximately 32 miles. I know they say it's 31, it's a 50K. I have never seen them short, Vernon, ever. I've completed a couple of them on here. They've ranged from 32 to 33 miles each. So for nice round math numbers, we're going to go with the 32 miles. And at 32 miles with 64 obstacles, that's going to be roughly one obstacle for every 800 yards on the course. So you're probably looking at this and saying, oh, well, that means the obstacles on the Ultra versus the Sprint are approximately three times the distance between obstacles on the Ultra as they are in the Sprint. And you're wrong. There are things I can almost guarantee you didn't take into account with this. So to go into that, we have, let's say we're doing a sprint and we're going a 15-minute mile. Now, some of you are going to be going way faster than that. Some of you are going to be going way slower. But I think on average, about a 15-minute mile is probably about where we want to be. And for that 275 yards, that's going to wind up being 2 minutes and 24 seconds between each obstacle as we go through. Now, if we're going to compare that to, say, an Ultra, we're going to be going a little slower for these Ultras. We're not going to be going that breakneck pace through here. So let's say we're going to drop down to, say, a 20-minute mile. Some of you are going to be a little faster, some of you are going to be a little bit slower. It's just 20 miles again, or 20-minute mile, winds up being a nice round number to kind of go off of. So we're going to just use that. And at a 20-minute mile pace, 800 yards is going to wind up being approximately 10 minutes in between obstacles. So if you go by distance, they may be 3 times the distance between, but in reality, as you experience the course yourself temporally, they're going to be 4 times the amount of space between each obstacle as we go. But wait, there's more. One more aspect to this that we get to add into the mix. And that is there are different categories of obstacles we're going to be dealing with. So I've kind of really, before this went in, I kind of really quickly put together, kind of categorized things as I see how these obstacles go. And I kind of list them in 8 separate things. We have one being kind of lifts, which is going to be your hook hoist, your atlas carry, your like armor carry. You can do like rope climb, because that's kind of lifting your own kind of weight on there. You have your carries. This is going to be like your sandbag and your bucket. Your overhead type obstacles are going to be like your monkey bars, beater, twister, multi-rig, those types of things. You have, if you're not good with heights, and you don't like going over high spaces, they kind of really tense you up and whatnot. You have like the A-frame, vertical cargo. Bender is going to be absolutely terrifying on those types of things. Those can be really, really hard. They kind of get their own category. I'm going to say you have your up and overs, your 6, 7, 8 foot walls, your hurdles. You have your Irish table, stuff that you have to get yourself over those things. You have your crawls, your barbed wire crawl, bungee crawl, whatever type of thing they may have in there. Your traverses, which would be your Z-wall, Olympus, kind of like a trilene traverse, helix, stuff where you're kind of going from one side all the way to another side of something. And then, of course, we have a miscellaneous grab bag of things, like your dunk wall, your rolling mud, your spear throw, stuff like that just kind of doesn't really fit into any of the categories. And the reason I'm kind of putting this out here is we are all built different. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different body builds. We all have different experiences. Some of these things we're going to be really, 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 really good at. And some of these things over here, we're not going to be as strong in there. So let's say I have like a gym background. I'm not really a runner. I'm more of like a gym type person. I might do really, really well on like the lifts and the carries and like the heavier type things. But I may have a hard time on the crawls, just physically getting under the barbed wire stuff. I may have a harder time getting kind of over the walls and like the Irish tables and stuff like that. Whereas me personally, if I go through, if you look at here, I'm gonna have an easier time doing the overheads. I have no issue with heights. I work on scaffolding and all that at work, so that's not an issue. But then going the up and overs, going over the walls, the crawls, stuff like that, I'm generally pretty good at. And I'm not going to, and by pretty good, what that's going to mean in this context is I'm not going to exert so much energy getting over those. I'm going to do those with minimal amount of exertion getting over. The heart's not going to beat like up to like the 180 or 170 or 1 beat sprint to get over. It's going to be tampered down going over these things. Whereas I can still do the lifts, I can do the carries, I can do the verses. I'm not going to fail those. But instead, my heart's going to go crazy. I'm going to be exerting a lot more effort to do those than somebody else with a different background or a different build may have. So just for argument's sake, on this whole discussion that we're having, let's just say that any given person is going to be, let's say a divide right down the middle. 50% of these things on the side are going to be really, really easy to do and aren't going to use that much energy to get over or through or past. Whereas the other half, we're going to wind up exerting more energy than we otherwise would if we have a different background or a different body type. So if we bring that over back into here again, on our sprint course, now that half of our obstacles are going to produce an elevated level of exertion going over, we're now going to have one real, I'm going to say, obstacle for every 4 minutes and 48 seconds on the course. Whereas if we come down to the Ultra, now that half the obstacles, or only half the obstacles are leading to the elevated exertion level, it's going to be one real obstacle for every 20 minutes on the course. So think about that. We're doing an Ultra. We're going to have roughly 20, at least statistically on average, approximately 20 minutes of kind of downtime before we need to actually hit an element that's going to produce an elevated level of exertion for us. We're not going to be pulling these muscles that hard. That gives us time to recover after each of these things. So if everyone ever want to know why I'm not really pushing, say, the upper body stuff, we're not doing like the curls for girls kind of thing. We're not doing the sexy kind of gym work. We're kind of just doing slow running outside all the time. This is, I keep pointing the wrong way. This is kind of why we're doing that. We have time to recover between each things. Where in addition to that, we do have one more particular obstacle on this course we need to take into account. And that's the fact that Vernon is a mountain course. It's ranked 5th hardest, or last I saw it was ranked 5th hardest in the country. And it has roughly or approximately 11,000 feet of elevation gain of going up and down throughout the entirety of our event we're going to be going through. So once again, going with our numbers, that 11,000 feet when broken down at 32 miles is going to equal roughly 344 feet of elevation gain and decline, which again, I'm a home remodeler. I deal with these things, or these types of elevations all the time. So I want to break this down to something that might be manageable for you. It's very manageable for me. If you do like the standard kind of like suburban residence, you have about 9 feet between each floor, 8-foot floor to height ceiling, plus ceiling joists being about a foot deep. And you're going to wind up with about 38 flights of stairs up and down every single mile throughout the entirety of this course. So if you want to know why I'm saying this is a trail run with obstacles thrown in, all this stuff I just presented to you over here, that's kind of why. We have a long time between obstacles, that are going to be exertion heavy for us, and we have a whole lot of elevation stuff and trail running to do in between things. So quantitatively, that's why we have that. As for the other aspect that I wanted to cover today, and we're going, what is the magic of the training plan I'm putting in? And hang tight, it's going to blow your mind by the end. I know I'm saying that, it will. So just let me scroll up real quick, give a real quick rundown of what we've been doing. If you're new to this is the first video you've seen. A real quick rundown of what I've done is we've been focusing primarily on the Zone 2 training, which again, the goal of Zone 2 is to run as fast as we can without triggering the body to produce lactic acid. Because what's going to happen is lactic acid in training is going to kind of stunt the growth of the mitochondria we have growing inside our cells. And we want to get as much mitochondria in us as we can possibly get in our cells, because that's what's going to help break down the lactic acid of going up and down these steep hills. If you can break down the lactic acid, your legs won't turn to stone, and you'll be feeling fresher longer on the course. They will turn eventually. It's a 2-mile course. It's going to happen eventually, but if we can keep putting off how long it takes for that to happen, we can get more work accomplished more expediently than we otherwise could if we don't have that. So Zone 2 has been like the backbone of a lot of what we're doing. About 85% or so of the training we're doing right now, like running wise, is done via Zone 2. That said, if you've been following along, you know I've now had three separate elements I'm saying to do once or twice a week. And that was, one of them is doing the upper body strength stuff once or twice a week. That's going to be your push-ups, pull-ups, dead hangs, and farmer's carries. So you're going to kind of carry you through the way on this course. We've just added the lunges into the mix this last week, and we're going to be doing a lot of lunges to kind of simulate and strengthen our legs to go up and down these hills. Because ideally we'd be on trails doing stuff. This has been a terrible year for trails. I mean, we're still like a foot of snow on the ground, and it's not going to melt anytime soon still. So there's really not going to be that much trail running getting in prior to this race, which is not really ideal, but it is what it is. We're just going to have to deal with things. So we're going to be doing a lot of lunges. That's going to be the once and twice a week of trying to get that figure up to, if we can get up to a 1/4 mile worth of straight lunges without taking a break in between, just straight, then we're going to be golden on that. The other one has been the runner strength kind of workouts once or twice a week. And if you noticed as watching these videos as they've gone out, I've kind of staggered how these have come out. We didn't just introduce all these 3 things at once. And the first one we introduced into this was doing the runner strength workouts, focusing on your calves, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, things to kind of keep the legs and your body moving forward, either on a road, on a hill, on a trail, keep you safe, keep you stronger in that regard. And the reason we started those the earliest is that's kind of the most important of this group to get through. So there's been a lot of that, and I've already covered the lunges there on the side that we're kind of focusing on that part. So that's been a lot of where this training has been. And to go off of that and we get into the race day itself, I'm just going to point out that our average walking pace, if I were to get up and exit screen left here and go for a walk, generally speaking, we're probably going to be between like 15-minute to 16-minute per mile pace on walking. You might be a little faster, you might be a little slower. That's generally where we're going to fall in that on just a flat terrain. So when we get to this course, you're going to stand on the starting line. You're going to see that 750-foot hill we're going to go up. We always go it up every year. It's a fun way to start the course. But in reality, realistically, for all of these climbs, let's just say we're going to knock that 15 to 16-minute mile walking pace. We're just going to knock that down to 25 minutes per mile going up every single incline on the course. I will not run a single incline on this course. Let's just plan on not doing, for the sake of this argument here, We are not going to do any running whatsoever on the inclines, and we are going to knock that normal walking pace down to a 25-minute per mile. Super doable. We can do this. You can do this. Again, this is something we can do. That said, that only counts for half the course. And we're just going to assume that half our course is going up, the other half of our course is either going to be flat or it's going to be a decline, going back down. So for the sake of numbers on that front, this is one of the reasons why we've been doing our Zone 2 all this time. By the time the race comes around, we will have been doing Zone 2 for that 4 to 5 month span. And I know I keep saying it's to build the mitochondria in our cells to break down the lactic acid. Well, we can have multiple goals when doing a workout. I haven't really been honest with you on that part. So there are really two additional goals I've had on this. One of them is so that running at like these nice, easy kind of going paces becomes just as easy as walking. If you can walk a thing, you can just do a little Zone 2 easy jog. It's going to be as easy as walking, and we really, really are going to be banking on that. Because in this case, instead of walking these descents, instead of just walking, I know we're walking the uphills, instead of walking the declines, we can now do a nice, easy, and let's just say a 13-minute mile pace going down these hills. If you're doing Zone 2 right now, you're probably somewhere between like a 9-minute mile and like an 11-minute mile, depending what fitness level you're at going at these things. So we can even drop, like I said, we're going to take those paces and even drop those down by minutes to get to that 13-minute per mile going down. And now I said there are two other reasons we're doing Zone 2. The other is Zone 2 is going to teach us patience. Patience is going to be a massive virtue on this course. We're not going to sprint up these hills. We're not going to sprint down these things. It's going to teach us to kind of take our time on these and don't kind of ruin the muscles that we have too early in these courses or find ways to just kind of hinder. We're going to need to have this game plan in head, have this game plan kind of in mind here. Do our 25-minute up, do our 13-minute down, and just be patient, stick with it. I'm going to blow your mind. So if we're spending half of our course doing 25 minutes up, we're spending half of our course doing the 13 minutes going flat and down, that's going to give us an average time on this whole course of around a 19-minute per mile pace. Now, what that's going to translate into is that the 32 miles this course is likely going to be, that's going to be 10 hours and 8 minutes on this course. So regardless of what your past history may be on the course, maybe you've done this before, maybe you haven't done here, that is how you can get one of those types of times. Now, if we go back to last year's time, the median completion time for the spring 2025 Vernon Ultra. This is the middle grade time for each of these. Bam. I just laid out a way to run a roughly 10-hour time on this course. Super doable. You follow that plan. If you can accomplish that plan, just, what can I say? You look at this. That's going to be roughly 2 to 2.5 hours faster than the average age group and open times on the course. That's going to be right in the middle of the elites finishing this course. It is super doable. One thing, if there's anything you can learn from this whole course, from this whole session right here, is you can do this. It's doable. As long as you go in with the plan, you go in not trying to be the hero and sprint out right off the bat on the hill. You go in with the plan, you execute it, you kind of keep with it, kind of slowly keep chopping away at those hills. You're not trying to hurt yourself. As long as you have a steady mind ahead on this thing, you have a game plan, you can absolutely do this thing. You got this. I believe in you. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the starting line, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. And until then, and until next time, enjoy.